In the opening scene, we find Rachel, pregnant, gazing at her reflection in the bedroom mirror, only to be jolted awake by her alarm, realizing it was just a dream. As Rachel rises, her smart home is already busy preparing breakfast. After completing her daily health tests, AI assistant Elena alerts her to slightly low serotonin levels and suggests a visit to the nature pod. Rachel dismisses the idea, citing her busy work schedule. Before heading out, Rachel wakes her husband, Alvy. He pleads for her to linger a bit longer, but she insists she's pressed for time. On her commute, she spots a woman wearing an artificial pregnancy belly. Back at home, Alvy tends to their indoor greenhouse while Elena serves him breakfast, noting an uptick in his happiness index from the previous week. At the office, Rachel unveils Masha, the next generation AI assistant set to assume some of the employees' tasks. Concerns arise among the staff about the potential obsolescence of human roles, but Rachel's colleague Alice reassures them. Post-presentation, the HR director summons Rachel to her office with news of a promotion, commending her outstanding performance. When asked about Alvy's profession for the paperwork, Rachel mentions he's a botanist and teaches holographic plant design. The HR director is taken aback by Alvy's unconventional career, realizing that Rachel's job is the primary income source for their family. She probes further, asking if they plan to expand their family, catching Rachel off guard with the unexpected question.
And not in the near future, but soon. But not immediately, like right now.
The director encourages Rachel not to delay, mentioning the company's support for the initial cost should they decide to have a child. Back in her office, Masha, her assistant, informs Rachel about Elena's suggestion for a nature pod session. Reluctantly, Rachel agrees to visit the center during her lunch break. Suddenly, Rachel receives a call from the womb center, notifying her of changes to their waiting list and urging her to confirm a reservation promptly. Rachel promptly calls back and secures an appointment for Thursday morning. She then heads to the nature pod, where she unwinds to nature sounds, daydreaming of a beach scene with a child in her arms. Meanwhile, Alvy introduces his students to a real fig from their greenhouse, inviting them to taste it. Accustomed to artificial food, the students are hesitant, but one brave guy takes a bite of the fresh fruit. Later in the day, Rachel confides in Alice about securing a spot at the womb center. Alice shares in her joy and suggests a celebratory dinner with their husbands. Rachel hesitates, admitting she hasn't yet told Alvy about being on the waiting list. That evening, Rachel attends a session with an AI psychotherapist. The AI inquires about her reluctance to share the truth with Alvy. Rachel confesses she fears his resistance, as he desires a naturally conceived child.
You are having a child. A very fine child.
Later, Rachel and Alice meet up at a breathwork bar, where Rachel confides her apprehensions about discussing the impending conversation with Alvy. She knows she needs to broach the subject before their Thursday appointment at the womb center but is unsure how to approach it. Back at home, when Rachel attempts to initiate a discussion about starting a family, Alvy excitedly shares his recent success in getting his students to engage with nature. He reflects on the point in history when humanity began viewing nature as a mere commodity, leading to a disconnect with our true selves. Listening to him, Rachel senses that now might not be the right time to introduce the idea of an artificial child. Failing to find an appropriate moment to speak with Alvy before Thursday, Rachel decides to visit the womb center alone. Upon arrival, prospective clients are seated, watching an interview with the founder of Pegazus Company, the creators of the womb center. He discusses the declining birth rates in the USA and how many women opt out of natural motherhood due to its perceived inconvenience. Pegazus Company addresses this issue, enabling women to pursue fulfilling careers without the interruptions of pregnancy. Next, Linda Wozczek, the director of the womb center, welcomes the new clients and leads them on a tour of the facility. She explains how the artificial womb ensures optimal nutrition and a safe, clean environment for the babies. In the incubation room, Linda presents a capsule containing a developing baby, emphasizing the importance of communication. For those pressed for time, an app allows parents to select music, podcasts, and audiobooks for their child, as well as monitor the baby's developmental milestones and introduce them to various tastes to cultivate diverse eating habits. A client inquires about the autonomy of the capsule when disconnected from the base. Linda informs them that it can operate independently for 48 hours, making it travel-friendly. Rachel asks if the babies can hear their surroundings, akin to the natural womb, and Linda confirms this, explaining that the casing is made of a porous membrane. After the tour, Rachel consults with Linda in her office. Linda requests a deposit to secure Rachel's interest in the procedure and seeks clarification on whether the company will cover part of the cost.
They must love your work.
That evening, upon returning home, Rachel finds an agitated Alvy who has received an $8,700 fraud alert. He suggests contacting the bank, but Rachel interrupts, finally confessing that she added their names to the womb center's waiting list last year and had recently secured a spot by transferring the deposit. She also mentions that her recent promotion means her company will cover part of the costs. Stunned, Alvy struggles to absorb the news and accuses Rachel of making such a significant decision without consulting him. She apologizes, explaining her difficulty in finding the right moment to tell him. Alvy's demeanor softens, and he embraces her, assuring her that they will work through it together. Rachel proposes discussing the matter with Alice and Ben, who have already utilized the womb center's services, to gain insights into the experience. The following evening, they visit their friends. Alice talks about how traditional pregnancy has historically compromised women's health, burdening them with all childrearing responsibilities. Now, however, both men and women can share equally in caring for and raising the child. Meanwhile, Ben showcases the carrying case for the capsule, highlighting its practicality and convenience. He inquires about their womb center tour plans. Alvy is about to reveal that Rachel has already visited, but she intervenes, opting to lie and say they are still awaiting their scheduled tour. Ben offers Alvy a chance to hold the capsule, but he politely declines, remaining skeptical of the unusual device. Back at home, Alvy expresses his concerns about their child developing in a plastic capsule made of chemicals, petroleum products, and silicone. Rachel tries to reassure him, suggesting that the baby will perceive the capsule as a genuine womb. Rachel doesn't want to debate the specifics, reminding him that they will still have a real child regardless. Alvy expresses his wish to experience pregnancy if he could, while Rachel argues that carrying the capsule is the closest way for a man to understand motherhood. Alvy requests more time to contemplate their decision, but Rachel warns that they could lose their spot in line if they delay too long.
We shouldn't make a decision under pressure.
Rachel suggests Alvy consult her AI psychotherapist, Eliza, to help him navigate his feelings. In the session, Alvy expresses skepticism, doubting that Eliza, lacking a soul or consciousness, could truly comprehend human emotions. After the session, Alvy decides to keep his reservations to himself, telling Rachel he had a productive talk with Eliza. They head out to a restaurant, where Alvy's uncertainties about the procedure persist. Rachel finally voices her concern that perhaps they shouldn't proceed with having a child this way to avoid constant disagreements. That night, they make love, and afterward, Alvy, recognizing the significance of the decision to Rachel, agrees to proceed with the capsule-conceived child. The following day, the couple meets with Linda at the womb center. Linda asks if Alvy will be the biological father of the child. Both Rachel and Alvy are taken aback by the question. Linda clarifies that if they don't have a preference for the child's gender, conception using Rachel's egg and a stem cell from her skin would suffice. Rachel insists that Alvy be the father and suggests they leave the gender to chance.
We'll let nature decide.
That's quite unusual.
The couple finalizes the contract and observes the egg fertilization on a screen, with Linda providing a detailed narration of the process. Upon successful fertilization, Linda congratulates the expectant parents. Back at home, they share the news with Rachel's parents, who are overjoyed. Rachel's father even offers to sell his country house on Shell Island to provide more financial support for the future child. Alvy politely declines, and Rachel quickly changes the subject, sensing her husband's discomfort. In the following days, Rachel diligently tracks the fetus's development via the app. One evening, Alvy tries to initiate intimacy with Rachel, but she requests to give her a couple of weeks, preoccupied with thoughts of the baby. The next day, Rachel accesses the capsule via the app, inviting Alvy to listen to the baby. He feels it's too early, and when she suggests selecting music for the baby, he dismisses the idea. Rachel becomes upset with his lack of enthusiasm. Later, Rachel visits the incubation room hoping to see their baby, but the nurse explains that for the first 7 weeks, the embryos are kept in complete darkness until the first heartbeat is detected. Suddenly, one of the capsules emits a signal, signaling that the baby is ready to be born, as indicated by specific proteins and hormones detected by the capsule. Rachel inquires about the due date, but the nurse informs her that there isn't an exact date.
Nature knows best.
At night, Rachel has a disconcerting dream of undergoing a cesarean section, only to pull out an egg instead of a baby. Disturbed, she visits her AI psychotherapist, Eliza, to discuss the unsettling dream. Eliza advises her that dreams aren't necessarily indicative of deeper issues and not to read too much into it. Several more weeks pass, and the couple is elated when they finally hear the baby's heartbeat. Linda informs them that they can bring the capsule home 2 weeks after the 6-month mark of the pregnancy. She then invites them to peek at the tiny baby through the capsule's viewing window. A few months later, Rachel is busy setting up the baby's room. Alvy suggests adding a live olive tree, but Rachel insists on a hologram instead. Offended, Alvy takes the plant and leaves the room. Rachel catches up with him, suggesting they sell the Shell Island house since they rarely visit. Alvy argues that it's their only connection to nature, but Rachel counters that they have the nature pod and sees no point in a lengthy commute when they can experience nature virtually. Alvy opposes raising their child solely within capsules and artificial environments. At the pool one day, Rachel notices a pregnant woman and scrutinizes her closely. In the locker room, the woman invites Rachel to feel her baby kicking. That evening, Alvy arrives home to find the capsule in the living room. Rachel reminds him that they are in a home period and suggests they spend time bonding with the capsule. They relocate it to the bedroom, but Alvy feels uncomfortable with the baby so close and cannot engage in intimacy. He decides to move the capsule to the nursery but almost drops it in the process. Returning to bed, they are startled by an unfamiliar sound emanating from the capsule. Alvy accuses Rachel of neglecting to check on the baby, but she points out that he also has access to the app and could have monitored the baby's status. The next day, they tour the private Pegazus school, where it's time to reserve a spot for their child.
We don't even have a child yet.
I know, honey, but this is New York.
When one of the clients at the womb center asks Linda why his nephew, who was born there, never dreams, she explains that it's a side effect. However, she reassures him that dreams serve no evolutionary purpose, so there's no cause for concern. The next day, Alvy, working in his home greenhouse, receives a notification from the capsule. After feeding the baby, he gazes at him through the window and feels a growing affection for the child. Meanwhile, at the office, Masha tells Rachel that her productivity has recently declined. Irritated, Rachel asks Masha not to bring it up again. Alvy unpacks the capsule holder and secures the baby to his body. He cherishes the closeness he feels with the baby and, for the next few days, he wears the capsule constantly, talking and reading fairy tales to the baby. After teaching his students one day, Alvy's boss informs him that maintaining the greenhouse is too expensive and suggests replacing all the live plants with holograms, which deeply upsets Alvy. That evening, Alvy watches a documentary about penguins and finds himself moved to tears. Concerned by her husband's unusual behavior, Rachel suggests returning the capsule sooner to avoid attachment issues. However, Alvy insists that everything is fine. The following day, Rachel confides in her friends about her worries over Alvy's neglect of the capsule's cleanliness and his public display of wearing it, unlike other men. Alice dismisses her concerns, believing that Alvy is simply bonding with the baby. That night, Rachel has a disturbing dream where her capsule goes missing. She frantically searches the room but cannot find it. As she approaches the mirror, she discovers her reflection showing a pregnant belly. Shortly after, Alvy receives a package from his mother containing old books about natural parenting, which argue that spending time with a baby fosters empathy. Rachel reminds him that the philosophy of the womb center contradicts this, but Alvy is intrigued and wants to compare both theories. Feeling uneasy about impending motherhood, Rachel suggests they attend a session with Eliza together. During the session, Rachel confesses that their lives now revolve solely around the capsule.
The baby.
Rachel feels that Alvy is bonding with the baby, while she struggles to connect. Alvy believes her detachment is due to her not spending enough time with the capsule. In contrast, Rachel feels she might not be ready for motherhood. Over the next few days, Rachel makes an effort to bond with the baby by wearing the capsule constantly, but she finds it uncomfortable and feels self-conscious. One day, she brings the capsule to a meeting. Afterward, Alice advises her against bringing it to work, as it can be distracting for other employees and might lead them to see her as a distracted mom. Alice then shows Rachel a special room where employees can leave their capsules during work hours. That evening, Rachel realizes she's late for a seminar at the womb center, where Alvy is already waiting for her. Linda announces that all clients must return their capsules to the incubation room. Alvy is visibly upset about parting with the baby. Returning home, they both feel a sense of emptiness and question the womb center's stringent rules. That night, Rachel dreams once more about walking with the baby on the beach. The next morning, she returns an olive tree from their home greenhouse to the nursery, which greatly pleases Alvy. At the office, the HR director asks Rachel if she might be depressed, suggesting it could explain her decreased productivity. Rachel assures them that she's fine. The couple meets with Linda again, and she proposes they choose a birth date. Confused, Rachel and Alvy ask for clarification. Linda explains that they no longer wait for specific hormones to be released and now conduct births at 39 weeks due to the high demand for capsules. Rachel inquires if they can keep the capsule with them until the birth, but Linda insists that this is not permitted.
I don't remember signing up for that.
Well, it's all in your contract.
The distraught parents leave the womb center, where activists advocating for natural motherhood are protesting nearby. Suddenly, Alvy asks Rachel to wait and sneaks back into the incubation room, taking their capsule with him. That night, Rachel has a peculiar dream in which she purchases a baby from a supermarket. Upon waking, she hurriedly packs their belongings and informs a bewildered Alvy that they need to travel to Shell Island for the birth. Alvy is confused by her sudden decision, and Rachel explains that she doesn't want their baby to be born at the womb center. Alvy returns to the womb center to discuss their decision with Linda. He tries to explain that they want a home birth, but Linda insists that the capsule is the center's property and must be returned immediately. She also informs him that they can't open the capsule themselves without the special birth code. Despite Linda's warnings, the couple takes the capsule to Shell Island. They spend time in the idyllic forest, relishing each other's company and the closeness to nature. One day, Rachel notices that the capsule won't turn on. Alvy realizes that the womb center has remotely disabled it to compel their return. Then they remember that the capsule can operate autonomously for 48 hours. They hope that by then, the baby will be ready for birth. Indeed, the next day, the capsule indicates that it's ready for birth, but it prompts them for a code. Rachel attempts to enter the conception and birth dates, but to no avail. Alvy decides to open the capsule using tools. After some effort, he manages to remove the lid, but the opening is too small for the baby. With determination, he breaks the capsule into 2 parts, freeing the baby. Overjoyed, the parents wrap their newborn in a towel and can't take their eyes off him.
You're perfect.
The next day, Rachel carefully packs the empty capsule into a box and takes it to the post office. Upon returning home, she lies down beside her husband and their newborn baby, finding comfort in their close bond. Would you dare to use such a procedure? Or is natural pregnancy irreplaceable? Share your thoughts in the comments below, hit the like button, and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next videos.